Hello, American National Government class. We are going to go over the chapter on equal rights or civil rights. I believe it's chapter 15 in your textbook. Forgive me if I say I believe it is, because you have to realize I've been teaching on a totally different textbook for the last 5 years, and so we just switched over. But I believe it's chapter 15, but either way, it's equal rights, okay? So let's talk about this a little bit. If you've got your PowerPoint, okay, when we talk about equal rights, okay, it is simply the right of every person to enjoy equal protection under the laws and equal access to society's opportunities and public facilities. Okay, so equal rights are a question of whether individual members of different groups, such as racial, gender, and ethnic groups, are treated equally by the government and in some cases by private parties. Okay, so group claims to equality are equality under the law. Okay, and so a lot of this will deal with group rights, but we'll get into this here. So if you go to slide number 3, we get this from, and we get the expressions of civil rights or equal rights from the 14th Amendment. Okay, if you remember from the last last series of lectures, prior to, well, in 1833, the Supreme Court took up the case of whether or not the Bill of Rights applies to the states. And in Barron v. Baltimore, the court said that no, the Bill of Rights do not apply to the states. Okay, so after the Civil War, and then the the Civil War amendments, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Okay, the 14th deals with providing 3 things to the freed slaves: equal protection under the law, privileges and immunities, and also due process. Okay, and so the 14th Amendment, when it was ratified, it said that no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection under the laws. Okay, so it's also, another name for that is it's called the Equal Protection Clause. Okay, so again, it provides for equal protection under the law. It was not applied strongly until the 1960s. Okay, as an historian of the Constitution relayed to me years ago, social equality was not on the table in 1860. Okay, it was becoming on the table in the 1960s. Okay, it took about 100 years. Okay, there were obviously Jim Crow laws. There was all kinds of discrimination and deplorable things that took place in areas of the South. And so part of what we're going to talk about is kind of the process of getting there. But again, this isn't a history class, so we won't get to all of it. But one of the things we're going to have to talk about when we talk about equality is, what do we mean? Okay, do we mean equality of opportunity? Okay, in other words, providing a level playing field so everyone can get on and compete. Okay, but some people are going to be better competitors than others. Okay, I can think I'm going to be a great basketball player all day long, but if I want to go straight up with LeBron James or even Michael Jordan or whomever, okay, pick your pro ball player. It doesn't matter how much I think. In other words, they can provide the same court that both of us can get on. That if we're playing one-on-one, they're going to dominate. Okay, right? I'm not going to be anywhere near. Okay, so equality of opportunity is allowing you to be able to get on the court with a LeBron James. Okay, or pick your favorite NBA player. Okay. In other words, we can both get on the same court, okay, and we're not, I'm not hindered at all. But if I give my best, I'm going to get smoked all day long, okay. But let's say that LeBron James has to spot me, I don't know, 100 points, okay, and instead of saying the next 3 baskets win, basically there's a 2-minute time limit, okay, in this game of pig or horse, okay, or something like that, okay? Guarantee I'm going to win, right? Because regardless of how good he is, he's probably not going to score 100 in 2 minutes. He might, but he probably won't, okay? So that would be an example of not equality of opportunity, but equality of outcome. In other words, you're tilting the game in favor of one person or one group to make sure that they win, okay? And so if you go to slide number 4, you can see part of the challenge of equality in the 21st century is, what kind do we want in America? Okay, do we want equality of opportunity, where everyone gets an equal shot, but some people are more gifted than others, and so they're going to excel more, even if both people are allowed to play the game, or even if both companies are allowed to compete freely, okay, or something like that? Or is it equality of outcome? Is that the government steps in and starts picking winners, okay, and starts propping up certain groups and certain people, okay, and allowing them to perhaps get a leg up or win? Which one do we want, equality of opportunity or equality of outcome? Okay, so there is a reading that's assigned in this this module. Okay, if you go on a Canvas, you can check it out. It's called Harrison Bergeron. Okay, one of my favorites. I love this. And this is a short story by Kurt Vonnegut. He wrote the book Fahrenheit 451. You may have heard of it. He was a prisoner of war of the Germans during World War II. But anyway, so he wrote this book, this little short story about a guy by the name of Harrison Bergeron. And it begins this way. The year was 2081, and everyone was finally equal. They were not only equal before God and the law, they were equal every which way. Nobody was smarter than anyone else. Nobody was better looking than anybody else. Nobody was stronger or quicker than anybody else. All this equality was due to the 211th, 212th, and 213th Amendments to the Constitution and to the unceasing vigilance of the agents of the United States Handicapper General. Okay, so I'm going to let the cat out of the bag a little bit here because I'm sure I believe it's one of your discussion post questions. But, you know, this little short story is an example of the equality of outcome. And kind of, let's take it to its logical conclusion. In fact, let's not just take equality of outcome to its logical conclusion, but let's take it to the point of absurdity, okay? And you'll see what I'm talking about when you read it. But this gives you an example of, you know, you might be somebody who's all for equality of outcome, okay? And that, yes, we need to give certain groups and people a leg up, okay? What Kurt Vonnegut was trying to show is, okay, where is this headed? You know, where could we ultimately go? Now, obviously, it's fiction. Obviously, it's a science fiction story. In fact, I think there's a movie. In fact, I know there is a movie about this that came out a few years ago. I haven't seen it yet. Don't know if it's any good. But he's trying to show, okay, if we're going to go the way of equality of outcome, this is where we're going. Do we like it when we get there? Okay, there's examples of, you know, a husband and wife. Okay, this is Harrison Bergeron's parents. And the husband's really, really smart. And the woman is, I'll just be kind, she's not the sharpest tool in the shed. So the government steps in to provide equality of opportunity for husband and wife, okay? So the husband has to wear this like earpiece in his ear, and then every 10 seconds or so, when he gets a really deep intellectual thought, this excruciating noise kicks in this little, you know, almost like a hearing aid, and it basically causes him to kind of just totally get stunned to where he can't think anymore. And his wife's like, "What were you saying? What were you thinking, honey?" "I can't remember," okay? In other words, trying to equalize him intellectually with his wife. The other thing is he has to wear all these weights, and so it causes him to be physically slower and physically at the same level of his wife. In other words, the government has to step in and do that. So again, I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts on this in the discussion post if you choose to answer this. But I provide this for you because I think this gives you it helps you think through equality of outcome a little more, especially if you have to look at if you see where it's headed, okay? There's another quote here. It's on slide number 6. I'm going to make this bigger so I can see it better. But Martin Diamond said this: "Whoever says equality of liberty, therefore says equality of outcomes. Whoever says equality of outcomes, therefore says inequality of liberty, because only the unequal handicapping of the superior will prevent their capacities from manifesting itself." So what he's arguing for is that, listen, if you go the way of equality of opportunity or equality of outcome, the government is going to have to continually handicap superior people, achievers, right? Those that are smarter, those that are more athletic, those that are more disciplined, those that are harder workers, those that have more initiative. You're going to have to hinder them in some way, shape, or form to get them to become equal to those that are the underachievers, or those that choose not to work harder, or those that maybe aren't as smart or as talented. okay? Let me say it this way, okay? When you go out to a restaurant, okay, I don't know if you're dating or whatever, but if you go on a date or whatever, most likely if you take someone out on a date, if you're a guy, and I know I did this with my wife, people don't pay for average, okay? People pay for excellent. People pay for extraordinary. So if I'm going to take my wife out to eat, okay, especially when I was dating with her, I took her to the nicest restaurants that I could afford, okay? And she was looking at me like, gosh, I'm used to McDonald's. Why are we going to this nice sit down? I'm like, well, only the best for you, honey, okay? In other words, that same idea there is when people want superior products, okay? Hopefully you want a superior sports team if you're a football fan or a basketball fan or a baseball fan or a softball fan or whatever. And, if you get like I've got an iPhone, okay? And most of you, whatever, you want a pretty good device that actually works really well, okay? We don't want average, we want excellent, right? We want something superior, okay? The concern with equality of outcome is if you go that direction, we're going to be a nation of mediocrity in multiple spheres of business or whatever or whatnot if we have to bring the superiors down. Again, that's the argument there. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and we'll continue in slide number 7 talking about soft despotism next.